Hey guys, welcome back to the Garage of Curiosities. Today, gosh, what do we have today? I got the skid steer out of the garage. That I still haven't uploaded the video. This one might come first because I think it'll be a quicker edit. But I got the skid steer out of the garage. Truck barely fits. Thanks, modern Midwest cookie cutter home building. But $500 truck is getting new plugs and wires. So it was misfiring last summer a little bit, and it kind of then stopped doing it. So I forgot about it. Then around New Year, I was doing a road trip and went to go pass a semi, pushed her up to about 5K RPM. Ooh, gosh, we misfired for about another 30, 40 miles. Did not want to die down. So it came back onto the radar. I'd just gotten paid, so figured it's an easy winter project. These, Vortec made with Tornado Chevys, not too bad to get to. There's a couple of quirks I'll explain as we go. This will be kind of a light video, as really all the plugs and stuff are stupid easy to get to. There's that side, the other side's also not very challenging to get to, but there are a couple of quirks. So new plugs and wires all around. This truck just rolled over to 200K. It's an 04. I paid $500 for it. I bought it from someone who basically bought it because they wanted a truck, never put any time into it, and then just kind of, they were moving, and then he wanted to get rid of it. He's like, I'm sick of looking at it. So when I bought it, it needed all new brake lines. So I did that with the Doorman kit, which is actually top tier, 5 out of 5 stars. Pre-bent lines, stupid easy to do. I put new tires on it, the cheapest tires money could buy. And it came with a new alternator, and then I also put a new battery in it. So that's about all that I've done, aside from, and it was kind of before I wanted to start recording, totally redid the brakes because you couldn't bleed them at all, even if your life depended on it. So that took a lot of work. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to get started, and then I'll kind of bring you along. The shots might be here and there, only because it's just kind of a tight spot. My tripod I don't think will fit either. So, but I'll explain a couple of nuances along the way and some of the tools you'll need. So if anyone's using this as a tutorial, it should help you out. And yeah, so we'll get started. Let me gather some tools. Let me climb up on here, and then we'll get started. And I wanted to kind of bring you along for the ride. Again, the tripod doesn't really quite fit, so we're kind of just going to do a bit of a, as we move along here. So I don't know when these have been done last. If you kind of do yours maybe more religiously, like every 40,000 miles, 20,000, or even like 80, it's probably not too bad. So first, let's explain a few things. When you're buying the plug wires, you're going to be presented with either a square or a round plug wire. And when I was originally looking into it, there wasn't, like, even on the forums, different YouTube videos didn't really explain it that well. So here's what it is. Square. These are square plugs. The plug wire will not protrude out of the bottom of, your ignition coil, right? So this is your coil. This is all that really matters. This is your coil, and it obviously kind of looks squared now, but I mean, just in general, like, there's nothing that really says it. If you want it officially, you need to, I think, pull the coil off, and there's a part number on it. This is a square coil. A round coil will have this, I guess, kind of plug protruding out of the bottom. That is the difference. If you're absolutely unsure and you don't really know what to buy, you can always buy square coils or square coil wires. The only difference is they are a bit longer. If you buy round coil wires and you try and plug them up to square coil because you didn't know how to tell the difference, you will be short. They're like an inch shorter. So that is how you basically tell. I have square coils. I bought square wires, or the square coil wires. Mine should be the appropriate length. I haven't checked yet, but I'm presuming they will be. I'm not worried about it. Second, so again, I haven't done this before in this truck, so they're really tight. So this metal cap, I guess, is probably like a heat shield, I'm assuming, sits over here. So you actually have two things you're really fighting. You're fighting this, and then you're fighting that. Now, what I've found to work the best here is if you get yourself a pair of these hose clamp pliers. So they are a round jaw. They come in different diameters, obviously being a really long needle nose. Basically, you get a lot of leverage with it. And what I've found that works, bear with me here. Well, now I'll put it down. What I found that works is if you just grip this ridge right here, not too hard. You don't want to compress this, but you want to use this to kind of grip the rubber also. And then you'll pluck it right out. So once I kind of started doing that, I got one left on this side that I'm trying to I'm having a little hard time finding the right leverage on, but all the rest of these, I got them all out. This one was when I was kind of practicing on how to pull it out. I tried grabbing just the boot to try and get the boot out first, and it just kind of tore. So that wasn't working the greatest, and then I just started grabbing that like little metal, again, heat shield. I don't really know what it is, and that'll work. So otherwise, at least for my new plugs, I've got some iridiums, NGK iridiums. Those will take a 5/8. I haven't checked to see what's on these, but your mileage may vary, obviously, depending on maybe what you put in. Might be a slightly different size here or there. When I get this side off, I'll bring you along and I'm going to show you how I prep the plugs. It'll be exactly like the skid steer, but again, this video might come out first. I'm slightly religious over prepping the plugs because doing this again and then breaking one wire and then, they only come in sets of 4, sets of 8, you're going to be hating yourself that you didn't just do the little bit of extra prep work. Or snapping one plug and now you got to go back to the hardware store, and of course that means you can't take this car because you broke a plug on it. So take you along for that once I get that far. I just need to get the one out, and then I'm probably going to pop all the plugs, and I'll show you how they all look, and then how I'm prepping the plugs to go back in. So I will see you, then. All right, so I've got the passenger side out. So now if we look at the plugs, I didn't keep it in any order because they look actually pretty good. These were running AC Delcos, which I think were OEM. So AC Delcos 125711164 or 41985, I guess, I don't know. These all look pretty good. No broken electrodes, which is honestly perfect. Gosh, that one's got a little bit grime buildup on that one though, but not terrible. What I am running, we got some NGKs, TR5IX. So these are going in. I did have an OEM, at least I think AC Delco's OEM for Chevy. I did get an AC Delco plug wire kit. So if you are buying the square wire set, that's your part number. So whether you're unsure these will be a little bit longer, or if again, I showed you the way to tell the difference. You could also like go to your local auto parts store, buy both sets, and then you know, either then when you get home, pop one out and measure the difference, or you could, you know, pop one out, measure it, put it back in, drive to the auto parts store, whatever. But then again, you kind of risk breaking it, especially if it's been several thousand miles or years. So if you want to err on the side of caution, just do it once, buy probably the longer set, and you'll just have an extra inch to zip tie somewhere. Or, I mean, you could also probably call the dealer. They might be able to tell you, or you can just, you know, hop in the engine bay and just, you know, take a picture and figure it out. Or if you have a ride, you could take one wire to the auto parts store and just be like, let's crack it open, measure. But anywho, to circle all the way back, this is what I need. AC Delco 9748HH. These are for the box or the square plug wires. I think usually how they're advertised. And then I'm running new NGKs. So the way that I usually do this, and now I'm one-handed, I don't have the tripod set up, is I anti-seize the bottom, and then also I just have a giant tub of de-electric grease, silicone paste for the top. Now, it won't guarantee they'll come out free every time, but you'll be happy you did it. So I know auto parts stores will sell little kind of packets of these, so you can always buy that. If you're looking to spend a few extra bucks, you can get the whole, you know, container like I have. There's a brush on the inside of this lid. Depending on how filthy I'm feeling, I'll put on gloves and just spread it all around, or I'll just use my finger and wipe it on some part of the automobile that isn't visible. Doesn't matter. Your mileage may vary, but this is what I do. If you, especially if it's a project car where you might have to do it again and or remove them for something else, you're gonna be happy you did it. Now, I only put the de-electric grease on the spark plug end. I don't put it on the end that goes into the coil. I've never had an issue of getting things off of the coil. But like the one of them I was pulling off, I wonder if I can find the part here, ended up ripping this off of it. This would not come off of the plug. So, and you know, it's hard to tell because some of this stuff does kind of, depending on how long it's been, some of this paste and the creams and the paste and the whatever else you can put on, I mean, it does kind of disappear over time. Like 100,000 miles, 10, 12 years, you may not notice it on there anymore. So I don't know if someone was put on here. I don't know if someone just DIY'd it and didn't care. I don't know if a dealer did it. I don't know. It doesn't look like any was on it. But, you know, the plugs themselves, I mean, the tips don't look bad either. So, because it also, in addition to making it easy to remove, it stops some of that corrosion that can kind of get on top of these. So, you know, if it'll focus on not my hand, there we go. Like, these look all right. I mean, honestly, I'm the type of person, I'm going to do the job, I'm going to do it once. So, like, I was going to remove these and replace them no matter what, but, like, I mean, these aren't terrible. I mean, I could put these back in and be totally fine. So, that being said, though, also, let's talk about gapping real quick. So, this one came pre-gapped. Now, $500 truck. All my tools are in the shed. It is currently snowing today. I would normally check the gap. If you are ever unsure, you should check the gap. Also, if the gap needs to be adjusted, the way is not to just sit and tap it against, you know, something hard or a tool or something. Spend the few extra bucks and get a gapping tool at your auto parts store and gap it correctly. Because, especially if you buy expensive spark plugs, these were probably about $6 a piece, and they weren't the cheapest and they weren't the most expensive. I think I saw some $10 a piece. You're gonna be pissed if you ruin that gap. If you either, you know, damage the electrode or you know, damage any part of the plug, you're gonna be angry at yourself. So buy the few extra bucks and gap it correctly if you're worried about it. I have a $500 truck. She's got some speed holes. She's got some grime on her. I don't care. They supposedly came pre-gap. If this was any other vehicle of mine, I'd check the gap to make sure. But these ones came pre-gapped, so I'm not worried about it. So, but if you are, or if you're OCD about it, just buy the right tool though. You can certainly use shims. You can use, or like feeler gauges to at least get an idea, but don't again start tapping or using a screwdriver to pry this up. You will be upset at yourself when you break or damage one of these, and then you have to, again, if this is your only car, you're going to be upset that you're going to be driving back to the auto parts store, either misfiring, asking a friend to drive, or putting one of these back in to drive back, come back, take it out, set the gap, put the new one back in, and you've now spent probably an extra hour when you didn't have to do any of it. So, but if you're like me, you just YOLO swag and whatever. So I'm gonna lube these 4 up and get these in. I will bring you back probably when I have the other side off, which is actually the side I believe was misfiring, and we'll see how those look, and then that might just be it. So I'll see you then. All right, everyone. The work is done. Now, let me grab this one over here. You might notice we are, 2, 4, 6. We're missing a plug. Really, the one that I cared about fell, I think, onto the pan. And I tried to look for it, and I couldn't really find it. So, oh well. If this doesn't cure my misfire, then it's probably a coil that's bad. But, for me, the first step, especially not knowing the age or the mileage on these or those, I'd rather just do this. In my experience, coils don't usually go bad, or if they do, it's a lot longer. But that's just my experience. It's not anecdotal. Or I should say it is anecdotal. But if you made it this far, you're probably already done if you've done this work. But if you haven't, so for the Chevy Silverado 1500, hey, the fuck are you doing? Yeah, that's what I thought. The Chevy Silverado, the spark plug gap is a .040 spark plug gap for the Vortec. The torque specs. In the previous video, maybe in the future video when I do the skid steer, I kind of mentioned on how I just kind of tighten all the spark plugs that I do. I just kind of do it until they just feel tight. I don't know. I don't want to say it's just, give her the, like that, but that's just how I've always done it. I've never had to work on a vehicle that's had issues with plugs popping out or blowing out threads or anything like that. So I've always just kind of done it till it feels very snug, and I stop, and I've never had an issue. So that being said, though, according to All Data, which I do have a subscription of for my vehicles, if you are doing this on an 04, it's probably the 03 to 06, 07 model year. Whatever model year this is for the 04, for the V8 Vortec 5.3, your torque specs are 11 foot-pounds for used heads, 14 for new heads. So, if that helps you out, great. Likely those torque specs don't include any kind of lubricant, which also includes anti-seize. So if you are doing it by the book, you might want to adjust for that. And that's kind of why I've always done it, just kind of by feel. I know there are tools that make it easier, but I'm just Johnny homeowner. So I don't have a torque wrench to really get in some of these tight spaces. And then I don't have the mental capacity to figure out what it should be with a little bit of, lube on them. And also, it's just my vehicle. I don't have to worry about the customer coming back. The customer coming back is me. So if I mess up, it's my fault, and I'll learn from it. And I don't mind learning experiences, the school of hard knocks, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Intro or outro's getting kind of long here. So anyway, the work is done. I'll have to run it for probably a couple of weeks and maybe hook up my scan tool. The one downside with these vehicles too is, at least with my scan tool, and I think it's the module itself, doesn't actually record historical misfire data. So I kind of got to be driving with my scan tool if I think it's misfiring to figure out what cylinder it is. The next step, if you are ever experiencing a misfire, would probably be to diagnose the coils. If you're DIYing it, if you're going to take it to a shop, let them figure it out. But like for me, I'm trying to solve a misfire. Wasn't sure on the age of the plugs and wires. Figured I'll do them anyway. It's not a big deal. My next step to diagnose the misfire is to either figure out which coil is doing it, and then do one of two things. Rotate the coils, because in this instance, they're all the same, or to just replace it. So depending on how I'm feeling, you know, if you rotate the coil and the misfire moves, then you know that the issue is with the coil. If it stays the same, there's probably an issue with the cylinder. Or if the coils are cheap, or like for me, I'm at the junkyard enough, I might just pluck a couple for a few bucks. And then, I mean, yes, we don't know if that one was good or bad, but again, I don't usually see coils going bad in all my vehicles. So anywho, expect to see more of this truck in the spring. We've got some suspension noises that we need to take care of. And I think we got a very slow coolant leak here. This should be full. It is not full. Sorry if that might be upside down. Belt squeaks are pretty much gone. I used to have a charging issue that seemingly fixed itself, so we're not worried about it. The exhaust is loud, very loud, and I don't know if it's leaking or burning oil. So I don't know. Oh, and it takes me literally forever and a day to fill up gas. I know there's a few who cares about evap fixes that I might do in the short term, but I do want to fix it. I think that's throwing my check engine light too. So we'll probably work on that in the spring. And then I'll bring you along with it as we diagnose it. I've got a professional scan tool that we'll use. I've got a lift. It's all in the shed. It's cold right now. Not going to worry about it. So I think that's all we got. So hopefully you won't see this thing for another 4 months. Yeah, 4 months. I think that's a good one. So smack that like button, smack that subscribe, help the YouTube algorithms, help me. Leave a comment if you like this kind of thing, if you don't like it, if I did something wrong, if I did something right. I don't know, if you just want to say hi too, I don't care. You know, hi from the Midwest, right? So, but I will catch y'all later.